History.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
This is an article from Insider.com. Of course, Insider.com being some kind of intelligence op, as it were. And the headline here, meet President Ba, the B-A-U-G-H, I think, or Boff. I think it's Ba, the self-proclaimed dictator of a micronation in Nevada you've probably never heard of. Now, I wish Basil was here because I get the feeling that he's heard of him for some reason. May even be related to him. No, I don't think he's related to President Ba, but it's just one of those things that Basil would know of, you know, the micronation dictator in Nevada. So let's find out a little bit about this guy. It all started in 1977 when a 15-year-old Kevin Ba and his childhood friend James Spielman watched The Mouse That Roared, a satirical 1959 movie about a tiny fictional nation waging war on the U.S. Quote, I was struck by the imagination and creativity of that, said the 60-year-old who asked to be referred to as, quote, Your Excellency or President Ba during a phone interview with Insider. 4 decades on, he's lost contact with that friend, but the dream of ruling his own miniature country lives on. Ba is now the self-proclaimed benevolent dictator of the Republic of Molossia, a 1-acre micronation with a population of 35. Woo, 35 on 1 acre? Wow, in the northwestern Nevadan desert. And there's a picture of this guy. We're looking truly diplomatic. He's got his aviators on. He's got a green suit, like a military-style suit. He's got his captain's hat with some kind of seal with the gold sun rising over it. I mean, it's the whole thing, folks. The micronation was born at a suburban house in Portland, Oregon in 1977. It was originally known as the Grand Republic of Vuldstein. Ba appointed himself prime minister and Spielman was made king. It's the kind of stuff you do when you're kids, you know. I will be prime minister and you shall be king. Ba conceded that back then it was a little more childish, a little more than childish revere. Quote, it was more fictional, I guess you could say, he said. There was no internet back then, and so we made it up as we went along. Spielman eventually abandoned the project, but Bo continued working on it sporadically while he served the U.S. Army. In the U.S. Army. He left the Army in the 1990s and settled in Nevada with his family. Around this time, he said he started taking the micronation more seriously. Quote, the internet came along, and I was able to see that other people had created their own countries, Ba explained. Quote, so I took Molossia from just being on paper to having our own website. Woo! You hear that, folks? It's the first example of the physical world going digital. And you'll start hearing this word phygital a lot. I know it's an annoying word. It's physical and digital. Phygital. I'm guessing it's going to become more and more popular for people to say, although it's not a fun word to say. But this is an example of a man going phygital. Phygital. That's hard to say. Ba continued researching micronations online, finding information on how he could fully realize one of his own. A micronation is a self-proclaimed independent state whose sovereignty is not recognized by the international community. For example, world governments and the UN do not recognize them as legitimate. I think we have a new goal here in the Canary Cry, the Canary verse. You know, we talked about the Canary Cry metaverse, you know, being the best podcast in the metaverse, but we got to do it backwards. We got to build on the metaverse, and then we will buy up land that will become our own sovereign community, and then the UN will not recognize us. But, you know, that's probably what they want anyway. They want that divide and conquer. They want the smart cities as hubs all over the world, almost like clusters of nodes where people are, you know, doing work and all their data is being collected. And then the outskirts where everybody else sort of disperses and is doing their own thing. And then a war breaks out. So there you go. They're often small, the outgrowth of a single individual, and viewed as trivial enough to be ignored by the established nation their land sits within. The U.S. knows Molossia exists, Ba said, but basically ignores it. But this is fantastic. This is what you want. You want to have your own sovereign area, but then be ignored by the world lizard people. He's doing something right. I don't know. He's onto something, folks. There are at least 67 separate micronations in the world. Only 67. What is that? We should have like billions. Ba learned that micronations are usually formed by claiming the land they live on as their own territory. Now, that's tough. This is maybe why Bill Gates is buying up all that land, right? He wants Bill Nation, the Gates Nation. All right. Gates of Hell Nation. So in 1998, he bought a small plot in Nevada and claimed it as, quote, the homeland for our country, which was then called the Kingdom of Molossia. For a short period afterward, it was ruled as a communist dictatorship. Oh my gosh. Ooh, people in the chat. You got 0.32. I thought this guy had 32 acres of land. I was like, let's do this. 0.32 acres is maybe a little harder to do. I wonder if there's a minimum requirement of acres to create a micronation. Ba said the communist iconography the micronation used riled up locals, so he decided to turn Molossia into a capitalist military dictatorship. Oh, the communist thing wasn't really popular, so we're just going to go capitalist military dictatorship. Kind of the same thing that the United States is, just a smaller version, Just like a 1 acre version of the military industrial complex. Ba is the self-proclaimed benevolent dictator of what is now called the Republic of Molossia. Quote, I mean, not the kind of dictator that makes people disappear in the night or anything like that. He said, quote, we're a family nation. That would really irritate the family if someone just suddenly disappears. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is both inspiring and ridiculous and comical all at the same time. I'm inspired by this man. I'm also kind of terrified at what it all means for the world. There are 35 citizens, all of whom are related to Ba. This number, he said, also includes the family's 3 dogs. Oh, look at that. You get citizenship. The human citizens all have dual citizenship with the U.S. Quote, it helps to still have that U.S. citizenship, Ba said. Yeah, when you go outside the 1 acre of land that you have. Quote, otherwise we wouldn't be able to go to Walmart or something like that, and we'd all starve to death. Oh, come on, Ba. You can't get your own farm going, your own produce happening on that 1 acre? I don't know if I'm a fan of this guy. Get some chickens, get some rabbits, just pump them full of vitamin C, get some good out of them. Citizens vote in U.S. elections and pay U.S. taxes, which Ba jokingly refers to as foreign aid. I like this guy. Ba said Molossians have, quote, very positive relations with local communities over the border. They make regular, quote unquote, appearances in the nearby town of Dayton, Nevada, and participate in the annual Nevada Day Parade in Carson City. Which, by the way, Carson City, capital of Nevada, folks, not Las Vegas. Yeah, fun fact. Ba said he has relative freedom to do what he wants in Molossia, but is always eager to avoid introducing laws that would contravene American law or otherwise aggravate U.S. authorities. Quote, I can pass whatever laws I want as long as I don't offend the bigger country around me because you don't want to make them mad, he said. Quote, you can have your own money, your own stamps, your own whatever, customs, holidays, things like that. So it's really fun. So that's what I'm saying, folks. This sounds like fun. This sounds like Canary Cry, the Canary verse was built for this, was built to be a micronation. In fact, I believe we are a distributed, decentralized micronation already. But most people aren't ready to hear that. Molossia has its own currency, time zone, and system of measurement. Oh my gosh, don't I don't know about system of measurement. I don't know. That can have problems outside of the country walls. Molossia has its own currency, the Valora. Unusually, it's pegged to the relative value of chocolate chip cookie dough. Quote, we like doing things a little differently here in our own country, Ba said. Quote, we also have our own measurement system and time zone, stuff like that. The time zone is 39 minutes ahead of Pacific Standard Time and 21 minutes behind Mountain Standard Time. Using the unique and nonsensical Kokins system, measurements-based lengths on the size of Ba's hand and volume relative to the size of Diet Pepsi cans. See, this is what I was saying. No good. It's all based on the dictator's measurements. And, maybe that was okay a long time ago with some king, when civilization was still at that stage where things were being solidified. But I don't know. I don't know if you're happy about that if you're a citizen of Molossia, the Republic of Molossia, and you walk 10 feet that way and you got to convert the measurement. You imagine going to like a local Home Depot there and like, I need what's the measurement called? I just forgot already. Let's see. Unique non-sensical Kokins. Is that the Valora is the thing? Kokins. Okay. So is that the name of the system or is that the size of the... Anyway, all right, never mind. Forget the example. Molossia also has a navy despite being landlocked. Quote, our entire navy is composed of inflatable kayaks, Ba said, adding that there are often training exercises at Lake Tahoe. Man, this guy seems like he's just living life. Oh, man. Ba said the country is currently at war with East Germany, which ceased to exist in 1990 and was once in battle with another micronation, Mustachistan. Quote, a micronational war is just somebody spamming your email inbox or something like that, he explained. He says that a lot. Something like that. Every quote, he's like, yeah, it's like this or it's just something like that, Yeah, we got our own measuring system, yeah, something like that. Or we got our own stamps, something like that. Oh my gosh, this is great. Why is this even being written? The economy is tourism based. Approximately 200 people visited Molossia a year, or visit Molossia a year. 200, that's pretty good. Tourists get their passports stamped upon arrival and are free to explore the sights of the tiny country. Quote, it takes about an hour and a half to see literally every site, he said. And there's a photo here of some booths, wooden booths. There's some one that says customs, little wooden, looks like an old outhouse, to be honest. And then there's like a bulletin board, a bench. There's the flag. This is a real deal, folks. Ball leads the tours himself, but also works a full-time job. He declined to comment on his profession because it would take the quote-unquote sense of humor out of things. Ba conceded that running Molossia is a bit of fun and a chuckle, but said that at its core, it is a serious exploration of what constitutes a nation and what a world of micronations would look like. Quote, we're dependent on the U.S. for almost everything economically, food and clothes and all that kind of stuff you would normally buy, Ba said. Quote, but within those limits, we take our nation pretty seriously. At the same time, we have a good time with it. So there you go. That's the article. I like this. I like the idea. I like that this guy's just doing it and, has his family involved. And, the children can say, hey, where'd you grow up? The Republic of Molossia. Oh, where's that? Never heard of it. Of course, because it is my father's nation. I mean, are they going to do like arranged marriages too? Like, between micronations? So the other thing to talk about here, we bring it up fairly often, is the speech, and I constantly forget who it was made by. General Chat. Who is it? the general that spoke at the recent speech at, and we reference it multiple times, and I always forget. Anyway, yeah, there's too many names to remember. Milley, thank you, chat. General Milley. I knew you would come through, chat. Yeah, General Milley speaking recently, what was it, 6 months ago when he was talking to the graduates at, I forget the place too. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, some military school, one of the big ones. And he was talking about urban warfare and how, people will be, warfare will just take place anywhere and everywhere all at the same time. Well, that kind of speaks to this micronation thing. West Point. Thank you, chat. The West Point speech by General Milley that took place earlier I think it was this year. It feels like it was this year. Maybe it was last year. But in any case, yeah, in that speech, General Milley talked about how that warfare would change, that we need to be in smaller groups, and we're going to have to, there's going to be some different tactics and all that kind of stuff, AI and everything else. And to effectively fight in that type of environment, it makes a lot of sense to create micronations because, in the sense of what we have now and what this guy says here, Ba, it's like, yeah, we rely a lot on the U.S. government for a lot of things. And, the U.S. government, the federal government, especially where it was meant to help organize and distribute certain things around the country and do it, serve the people of the nation, not be served. Right. But now that's all completely flipped. We're all here to serve the politicians and the federal government. And so the reversing of that is interesting because on one hand, it sort of appeals to the core ideologies of what made the United States, this idea of sovereignty, freedom, all those buzzwords that we were taught, especially like patriarchy that, I was fed a lot of that in elementary school, the learning about the Pilgrims and the early settlers and everything else, the Boston Tea Party, all that stuff. And it's taking that ideology and not staying unified as a nation, but actually, no. We're each going to fight on our own, sort of a libertarian type of attitude. And again, there's some things that are appealing about that, but in the larger context of social engineering, it might be the exact thing that the controllers would want in order to create or cause the destruction of the United States, which is typically, has been in history known as one of the more free nations, an armed citizenry, certain liberties that exist here that don't exist in other countries. Even something as basic as the word of God. There are a lot of countries that don't allow the word of God to be distributed or, even possessed. You can't even hold a Bible in certain countries or you get arrested. So there are things here that have been good, that have worked. But now to carry those ideologies forward, it's going to create this distribution, the decentralization of the United States ideals, not just in other countries, but more from within. And I see that as part of the play here. And maybe that's why it's being highlighted by Business Insider, as sort of a fun thing to do. And it appeals to, those people that are very much in tune with those ideologies, which again, kind of in a political vacuum, you can agree with a lot of those things. But when you take a step back and look at the greater agenda, the greater trajectory of what's happening, it could be a little bit troubling. So there you go. That's the story about the little dictator there. What was the headline of this article? President Ba, the self-proclaimed dictator of a micronation in Nevada you've probably never heard of. Well, we've heard of him now.